So, let's talk about something kind of weird. Why you can be amazing at reading people, but still feel totally, completely alone. It's this strange paradox, right? You've got this incredible skill for seeing what makes people tick, but at the same time, you feel completely disconnected. We're going to dive into that today. You know that feeling, right? You walk into a party or a meeting, and suddenly, you're a detective. It's like all your senses just crank up to 11. You're not just there to hang out, you're scanning, you're observing, you're piecing everything together from these tiny, tiny clues. And you're good at it, too. You catch that little flicker in someone's eye, that tiny pause before they answer a question, even the way their shoulders tense up when a certain name is mentioned. You see all the subtext, everything that's not being said out loud. It really is like a social superpower.
But here's the twist. At the end of the night, after you've gathered all your data and you've basically figured everyone out, the only mystery left is why you feel so alone. It's this deep, nagging feeling of isolation. Even when you're surrounded by people you seem to understand perfectly.
Okay, so let's give this a name. We're going to call it the unseen wall, or the perceptive but lonely paradox. It's this idea that your own amazing insight can actually build an invisible barrier around you. So let's dig into what's really happening. Think about it like this. Your skill has two totally different sides. On the one hand, it's your superpower, right? You can read the room, you get the vibe instantly, you understand what people need without them even saying it. But there's a flip side. It's also your kryptonite. It makes you feel like you're always on the outside, looking in. There's this constant distance and a feeling that nobody really gets you. And this right here, this is the heart of the problem. That amazing gift that lets you see so clearly into other people's worlds, well, it can also build that invisible wall that separates your world from theirs. You end up being a spectator in the game of life, not an actual player.
So you might be asking, why, how on earth does a skill that's all about understanding other people lead to feeling so isolated? Well, let's take a closer look. We're going to deconstruct that wall, brick by brick.
It really boils down to four main reasons why this happens. First, you get stuck analyzing the experience instead of just, well, having the experience. Second, there's this thing called the observer effect. We'll get to that in a sec. Third is what you could call the burden of knowledge. You know too much. And last but not least, there's a deep-seated fear of being seen as clearly as you see everyone else.
Okay, let's zoom in on that second one, the observer effect. It's a cool idea that actually comes from physics. The basic gist is that the very act of observing something changes it. And that's so true for social situations. When you're constantly watching and analyzing, you're not participating anymore. You've basically pulled yourself out of the scene. You're no longer in the play, you're in the audience.
And here's the thing. All your brain power is going into decoding everybody else. You're so busy figuring them out that you forget to share anything about yourself. You're collecting all this information, but you're not putting any of your own out there. And connection? It's got to be a two-way street.
You know, this quote just nails it. We get this idea in our heads that if we can just achieve perfect understanding of someone, we'll magically connect. But that's not how people work. The real stuff, the true connection, is born from the messy, awkward, imperfect process of letting someone else try to understand you.
Okay, so that's the problem, and it's a frustrating one for sure. But the good news is you're not stuck with it. So, the million-dollar question is, how do you stop building walls and start building bridges instead? All right, this is where we get practical. It's all about making a shift, a big one. We're going to talk about how to go from just reading people to actually connecting with them.
And it really boils down to three big mindset shifts. First, you've got to switch from being the analyst to being a participant. Second, don't just make an observation in your head, try sharing it. And third, and listen, this one is tough, but it's crucial. You have to be willing to risk being misunderstood.
Now, let's be super clear about something. The goal here is not to turn off your superpower. We're not telling you to be less perceptive. No way. The goal is to start sharing what you see, to turn that private analysis into something you offer to another person, a way to start a real conversation. Here's a perfect practical example of what that looks like. The old way, the wall, is when you think or say something like, "I see you're anxious." See how that's kind of clinical? It's an observation from the outside. But the bridge, the connecting way, that sounds more like, "Wow, this situation feels a bit tense, doesn't it? I'm feeling it too." You see the difference? You're not diagnosing them, you're joining them. You're sharing the experience. So, let me leave you with this question to chew on. You spent so long getting so good at reading the script that other people are living by. But what if True connection isn't about reading that script perfectly. What if it only really begins when you finally put the script down and you take a risk to start writing a totally new scene with someone else?